You wake up, and before you've said a single word to the world, you've already checked your phone. Maybe it was the news. Maybe it was a text. Maybe you told yourself you were just checking the time and somehow ended up 20 minutes deep into something that didn't matter, and now you feel vaguely behind before the day has even started. You know this pattern. You've probably tried to break it, and you've probably wondered more than once why mornings feel so hard when logically they should feel like a fresh start. Here's the thing, the morning isn't failing you. You're just not being told the truth about what's actually happening inside your brain the moment you open your eyes. And before anything else, let's say this clearly. If your mornings are messy, if they're slow, if they look nothing like the 5 a.m. cold plunge routines you've seen online, you are not behind. You are not undisciplined. You are not missing some essential quality that other people were born with. Your brain in the morning is navigating something genuinely complex, and it's doing it with very little help and a lot of noise. The struggle is not a character flaw. It's a biology story. And once you understand the story, everything shifts. When you wake up, your brain is not where you think it is. For the first several minutes after waking, sometimes longer, your brain is in a state that neuroscientists call sleep inertia. The prefrontal cortex, the part of your brain responsible for decision-making, planning, and emotional regulation, is still coming back online. It's like a computer that hasn't fully booted yet. The screen is on, but the software is still loading. You are conscious technically, but the most sophisticated part of you is still somewhere between sleep and wakefulness. This is why the first decisions of the morning feel harder than they should. This is why you reach for your phone not because you're weak, but because your brain, still warming up, defaults to the path of least resistance. Stimulation, novelty. Something external to tell it where to look. The phone doesn't require you to generate anything. It just delivers. And a half-asleep prefrontal cortex will always choose receiving over creating. You're not choosing distraction. Your brain is choosing survival until it can do something better. But here's what that means for the rest of the day. The first hour after waking isn't just the first hour. Psychologically, it functions as a kind of emotional template. Your nervous system, which has been in a regulated, low-stimulus state during sleep, is highly impressionable in the minutes after waking. It's taking notes. It's scanning the environment and asking a question it will carry forward all day. Is this a safe, manageable world, or is this a world I need to brace against? When the first input is stress, breaking news, an unanswered email, a notification you weren't expecting, the nervous system registers that as an answer, and it calibrates accordingly. Not dramatically, quietly. A low hum of cortisol that colors everything slightly more threatening. A baseline of mild reactivity that makes the hard things harder and the small things feel larger than they are. This isn't anxiety. It's orientation. Your nervous system doing its job with the information it's been given. And this is where it gets interesting, because the reverse is also true. And it's more powerful than most people realize. When the nervous system's first signal in the morning is one of calm. Even something as small as a few minutes of stillness, a slow breath, a moment of doing nothing in particular. It doesn't just feel better, it sets a different trajectory. The prefrontal cortex, as it comes online, finds a quieter landscape to work with, and a brain that doesn't start the day already bracing tends to think more clearly, respond more flexibly, and recover more quickly when things go sideways. This isn't programming in the mechanical sense. It's closer to priming. Like the difference between entering a room already tense versus entering with open hands. Think about the mornings that have felt genuinely good, not the ones that were productive by some external measure. The ones that felt right somehow. There's a good chance those mornings had something in common. A little more space than usual. Time that wasn't immediately claimed by something else. A moment where you existed without an agenda before the day put one on you. Psychologists studying identity and selfhood have found something quietly significant. The minutes before full social engagement. Before you become the version of yourself that responds, performs, and manages, are the minutes where your sense of self is most coherent. You know what you actually want, what you actually feel, what actually matters to you, in a way that gets harder to access as the day's demands accumulate. The person who says they do their best thinking in the morning isn't just a morning person. They've stumbled, accidentally or deliberately, onto something real. Early morning, before the world has made its requests, is one of the few times in an adult life where you get to be yourself without negotiation. This looks different at different points in your life, and that matters. At 22, mornings are often a casualty of the night before. The nervous system is resilient and forgiving, and the identity work of that decade happens in different hours. At 35, with children or careers or both, the morning may be the only hour that belongs entirely to you, and there's a grief in not knowing how to use it, and a guilt in wanting it. At 50, the relationship with mornings often shifts again. Sleep changes. The body wakes earlier, more gently, and some people discover, sometimes to their own surprise, that they've become morning people not by choice, but by biology, and that the quiet hours before the world activates have started to feel less like lost sleep, and more like something they were slowly learning to want. The behavior evolves. The need its meetings stays the same. You have always been someone who needed a moment before the noise. Life just keeps changing the shape of that moment. This is why mornings feel like home or like war, depending on the day. When you have that space, even briefly, the morning functions like an anchor, something that holds you in yourself before the currents of the day pull you outward. Psychologists who study emotional regulation describe this as a window of tolerance, the range in which you can think clearly, feel without being overwhelmed, and respond rather than react. The morning, handled with even a little gentleness, widens that window. When it's missing, when the alarm is already 5 minutes too late and the first thing you see is someone needing something from you, that window narrows before you've had the chance to find it. And you spend the day without knowing why, slightly less than yourself. So what does any of this mean for you? It means the version of yourself that struggles in the morning is not a failure. It's a nervous system that hasn't been given a transition, a brain that woke into demands before it finished waking, a person who has been handed a full day before they had the chance to decide how they wanted to meet it. The first 60 minutes of your day are not a test. They are not a performance review. They are not proof of your worth or your discipline or your potential. They are simply the first 60 minutes. Your brain learning again to be awake. Your nervous system deciding, quietly, how to hold the day. You don't have to get it right. You just have to give it a little more gentleness than you've been told it deserves. And maybe that's enough. Maybe that's always been enough.